All right, let's dive into the absolutely wild world of time travel. And I mean, forget everything you think you know from the movies, because the real physics behind it reveals a secret about our universe that is so much stranger and honestly so much more powerful than you could ever imagine.
Okay, so we've got to start with the big one, right? The classic question that seems to just slam the door on the whole idea of time travel before we even get started. It's a pretty dark question, I know, but it cuts right to the very heart of the problem. If you could go to the past, could you do something that would make your own existence completely impossible?
And that right there is the grandfather paradox. You know the drill. You build your time machine, you pop back a few decades, and you stop your grandfather from ever meeting your grandmother. So, you're never born. But wait a second. If you were never born, then who on earth went back in time to stop them in the first place? You exist, but you also don't exist. Your brain just broke, right? It's a perfect, reality-shattering contradiction.
You know, for the longest time, this was pretty much the nail in the coffin for time travel. It just seems to create this fundamental, unbreakable wall of logic. If the past can be changed, then cause and effect just fall apart, and the entire universe becomes this nonsensical mess. It really felt like an open and shut case, pushing the whole idea firmly into the realm of science fiction.
But, of course, that's not where the story ends. Physicists are a stubborn bunch. They kept looking at the very fabric of space-time, the stuff Einstein described, and they found something incredible. The universe's rulebook might not just allow for time travel, it might actually have its own really bizarre way of policing it to stop these paradoxes from ever happening.
So the key, at least in theory, is this thing called a closed time-like curve, or a CTC for short. And no, this isn't just sci-fi jargon. It's a concept that pops right out of the math of Einstein's general relativity. The easiest way to think of it is as a literal road through space-time that loops back on itself. It's a potential pathway for a time machine.
Okay, so if these pathways could exist, how does the universe stop itself from collapsing into a paradoxical mess? Well, back in 1991, a physicist named David Deutsch came up with this absolutely wild solution. He said, look, this isn't a philosophical problem, it's a physics problem. There's a law, a fundamental rule of reality that just enforces self-consistency, period.
So here's how this cosmic law is supposed to work. When you or anything else enters one of these time loops, you can't just do whatever you want. Out of all the infinite things that could happen, only the actions that result in a perfectly consistent history, the exact history that led to you getting in the time machine in the first place, are actually allowed to happen. It's not that paradoxes are a bad idea. They are physically forbidden, like trying to divide by zero. The universe just says, nope. So what does this all mean for our time-traveling assassin? Well, you can't kill your grandfather, and it's not because some invisible force field stops you. It's because in any reality where time travel is possible, you were never going to succeed. Maybe your gun jams, maybe you slip on a banana peel, maybe you just have a last-minute change of heart. Whatever happens, the outcome has to be self-consistent. You could be a part of history, but you can never, ever change it.
Okay, so problem solved, right? The grandfather paradox is off the table, reality is safe. Well, not so fast. Because when we close the door on that paradox, we open another one. And this one isn't about logical contradictions. It's about something that is, in a way, even stranger. Information that seems to come from absolutely nowhere.
The source material we're looking at put it so well with this quote. This really gets to the heart of what's known as the Shakespeare paradox, or sometimes the bootstrap paradox. It's this dizzying idea of information that just appears, created out of thin air by a causal loop.
Think about it like this. You love Shakespeare, so you grab a copy of Hamlet, hop in your time machine, and hand it to a young, not yet famous William Shakespeare. He's blown away, copies it word for word, and boom, it becomes a timeless classic. Centuries later, you pick up that exact play to take it back in time. So, let me ask you, who actually wrote Hamlet? Not you just copied it. And not Shakespeare, he just copied it from you. Seriously, who wrote it? And this table just lays it all out so clearly. The grandfather paradox is a flat-out contradiction. You exist and you don't. That makes it physically impossible in Deutsch's model. But the Shakespeare paradox, it's perfectly self-consistent, the loop works. Hamlet exists, it gets passed back, it gets copied, it exists again, no contradiction at all. It's just unauthored, an idea with no creator.
The fancy term for this is an ontological paradox. It describes an object or a piece of information that's just stuck in a time loop, existing forever without ever really being created. It's like a ghost in the machine of causality. And believe it or not, This is where the story goes from weird physics to something completely mind-bending.
Because as it turns out, this strange little loophole, this information from nowhere, isn't just a fun thought experiment. It's the key to a type of computational power so immense it would literally redefine what we think is possible.
So what if you could use this? What if, instead of sending Shakespeare a play, you sent a computer the solution to a problem it was working on? If the universe absolutely demands a self-consistent outcome, could you force the correct answer to just appear out of that causal loop the same way Hamlet did?
To really get how powerful this is, we have to talk about the Mount Everest of computer science problems, the halting problem. Basically, here's the deal. It is proven to be impossible to write one master program that can look at any other program and tell you with 100% certainty if it will eventually finish or if it's just going to run forever in an infinite loop. It's a fundamental speed limit for all computers we have or even can imagine.
And this is the absolute kicker, the jaw-dropping takeaway from the research. A computer that's built to take advantage of the self-consistency of one of these time loops could solve the halting problem. It could solve the unsolvable. Suddenly, the time machine isn't just a vehicle anymore. It's the most powerful computer that is theoretically possible to build.
I mean, just look at this table. It really shows you the scale of what we're talking about. A standard computer, even a super advanced quantum computer? Nope. Fundamentally impossible. Other different theoretical models of time travel? They get you close, solving some really, really hard problems, but still, no. But the Deutschian model, the one that insists on perfect self-consistency, yes, it gets you all the way there. It completely shatters the known limits of computation.
What the research suggests is that time itself would become a resource for a computer, just like memory or hard drive space. Problems that would take a normal computer literally longer than the age of the universe to figure out could, in theory, be solved. This isn't just a small step forward, it's a totally different ballgame for what computation even means.
Okay, but this is almost too powerful, isn't it? A machine that can solve unsolvable problems feels like it could break the universe in a much deeper way than the grandfather paradox ever could. So you have to wonder, does the universe have a built-in failsafe, an escape hatch?
Well, the researchers think it might. The loophole has this technical name, spurious fixed points, but you can just think of it as the universe's way of cheating. It finds a self-consistent outcome that's simple, physical, and has absolutely nothing to do with the ridiculously complex calculation you were trying to make it do. And this quote from the source material just gives you the perfect picture of what we mean. Imagine you build your supercomputer and ask it to solve the halting problem. The universe now has a choice. Option A, magically conjure up the solution to an unsolvable math problem. Or, option B, just melt the computer's circuit boards. Both are perfectly consistent outcomes. In one, the right answer appears and is sent back. In the other, a fried computer appears and a fried computer is sent back.
And that's the whole point. Nature might just be lazy. Faced with the choice between performing a computational miracle or just causing a simple hardware failure, it might always choose the easier path. The laws of physics are perfectly satisfied, but your ultimate supercomputer is now just a pile of smoking junk.
And that leaves us with one final, kind of chilling thought. What if the deepest rules of causality aren't just there to stop you from meddling with your own family tree? What if they're a kind of cosmic firewall, designed to prevent anyone or anything from ever building a machine that simply knows too much? What if the universe is protecting itself, not from paradoxes, but from the ultimate supercomputer?